Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California, but his life didn't start easy. He was put up for adoption by his biological parents, and a loving couple, Paul and Clara Jobs, adopted him. From the very beginning, Steve's life was different. He was curious, restless, and hungry to learn. As a child, Steve loved electronics. He spent hours in his garage, taking things apart, just to see how they worked. His father once told him, "Whatever you build it perfectly, even if no one sees it." That lesson stayed with Steve forever. In high school, he met Steve Wozniak, a brilliant engineer who shared his passion for technology. Together, they dreamed of changing the world, but college wasn't for Steve. After 6 months at Reed College, he dropped out, not because he didn't like learning, but because he wanted to learn what mattered to him. He attended calligraphy classes, studied design, and explored spirituality. Those experiences later shaped Apple's iconic design and simplicity. In 1976, in a small garage in California, Apple was born. Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne built the first Apple I computer. It wasn't fancy, just a circuit board. But it was revolutionary. Within a few years, Apple launched the Apple II, and suddenly, personal computers became a reality. Steve was just in his 20s, and he had already changed the world. But success didn't make him stop. In 1984, he introduced the Macintosh, the first computer with a graphical interface and a mouse. It was creative, friendly, and different, just like Steve. However, behind the scenes, things weren't going well. Apple's board and executives started losing faith in him. They thought he was too demanding, too emotional, too visionary. And one day, in 1985, Steve Jobs was fired from his own company, the company he built from nothing. It was one of the darkest days of his life. He said later, "I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone." But Steve didn't give up. He decided to start again.
After being fired from Apple, Steve Jobs could have quit forever, but instead, he said something powerful. Sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. He started a new company called Next, building advanced computers for education and business. The world didn't know it yet, but Next's software would later become the foundation for Apple's future. Around the same time, he bought a small animation studio from George Lucas. That studio was called Pixar. Under Steve's leadership, Pixar created Toy Story, the first fully computer-animated movie in history. It became a massive hit and changed the film industry forever. By the mid-1990s, Apple was struggling. The company that had once led the tech revolution was near bankruptcy. In 1997, Apple made a shocking move. They bought Next, and Steve Jobs returned to the company he had once been fired from. This was Steve's second chance. When he came back, he simplified Apple's product line, focused on design and innovation, and brought a new spirit to the company. Soon, Apple launched a series of groundbreaking products: the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, and the MacBook. Each product changed the world in its own way. Steve once said,
"Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower."
He didn't just build products, he built experiences. He believed that technology should feel human, not mechanical. But as Apple was reaching the top again, Steve's health began to fail. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2003. Still, he continued to work, to create, to inspire.
In 2005, he gave his famous Stanford University speech telling graduates,
"Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Stay hungry. Stay foolish." Those words became a global inspiration. Steve Jobs passed away on October 5, 2011, but his legacy lives on. In every iPhone, every Mac, every creative mind that dares to think differently. He taught the world that success is not about money or fame. It's about believing in your vision, even when no one else does. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Steve Jobs.